Okay, jeg tror vi stille og roligt går i gang. Endnu en gang velkommen til. Vi vil de næste 30-40 minutter gennemgå noget IT-sikkerhed, hvordan man sikkert kan browse med et produkt, der hedder Quarri om et browser. Og jeg har sammen med mig Trevor, som sidder over i USA, som vil gennemgå noget af det her webinar. Så det vil faktisk foregå på engelsk, og det håber jeg er okay med deltagerne. Så lige noget for sikkerheds skyld vil jeg starte med at sige, at I alle sammen på muted tilstand, det vil sige, at I kan roligt drikke kaffe og gøre det I skal, uden at de andre deltagere vil kunne høre. Hvis I har nogle spørgsmål, så kan I altid stille det over til højre. Hvis I kigger ud til højre, så er der sådan en chatvindue, hvor I kan skrive de spørgsmål I har. Det her webinar det vil blive optaget og lagt ud på vores hjemmeside, og vi kan selvfølgelig også sende det ud til jer direkte per mail. Vi går som sagt stille og roligt i gang, og det vil jeg gøre med at først introducere noget gratis materiale om sikkerhed, om IT-sikkerhed. Det er sådan, at vi har på vores hjemmeside en PDF, en sikkerhedshåndbog om gratis, hvor vi gennemgår de mest overordnede ting vedrørende IT-sikkerhed, hvordan man mere eller bedre kan beskytte sig imod de her avancerede trusler, der nu er. Og det ligger selvfølgelig, der har jeg lagt en link herinde, som man direkte kan gå til. Vi har også en YouTube-kanal, hvor vi har nogle videoer om, igen, hvor vi forklarer de mest avancerede trusler, og hvordan man så kan beskytte sig imod de her trusler. Så vil jeg stille over, faktisk det var med til min kollega Trevor. Trevor, you're still with us, right?
I am.
Alright, so I'm going to switch over to you and then make you a presenter. So
okay, great.
We're seeing your screen at the moment.
Okay.
Thanks.
Well, good morning, everybody. Appreciate you spending the time with us. Let me just get this into slide presentation. Is that coming up all right?
For me, it's great.
Okay, great. So, just wanted to give you a little background in Quarri. Quarri is a company that's been around for about 5 years. I'm going to minimize this. Oh, let's not minimize. There we go. We came into existence because of really the problem with browser security. We're finding that it's one of the biggest threats to the enterprise, and this is becoming really the way that most malware and bad software essentially gets onto PCs. The reason that bad things happen in the browser is because they are so widely distributed and so widely used. So you've got to worry about things like drive-by downloads, keyloggers, man-in-the-browser attacks, and zero-day attacks. In addition to these, you've got targeted malware like Zeus and Zeus Trojans and Dire. And so and these malware tools are now being used by organized criminals who have great resources and have a great ability to actually affect a significant damage to different organizations or individuals. And the other reason that we came into existence is that we were finding that traditional defense mechanisms are no longer adequate. You still have to have antivirus on your PC. We don't recommend that you don't. But we've seen many quotes from many people at antivirus companies that it's the bare, antivirus provides the bare minimum that you need to stop an attack, and a targeted attack will get around virtually any antivirus because the thieves have become so sophisticated. Things like URL filtering is also helpful. It'll help stop a lot of different phishing attacks and things like that, but there's still going to be a lot of zero-day attacks that won't be in the signatures, so to speak, when you really need them. And then we've also seen that more than 30% of machines are already infected with some type of malware, and so this is a huge problem out in the wild. So Quarri is one of the top vendors in this space, and we regularly do testing with a company called Malware Research Group, and they are out of Eastern Europe, which is also where a lot of the malware comes out of. So they've kind of got quite a deal going over there. And we test against all the big guys in the industry, from Kaspersky's to McAfee to Symantec, Trend Micro, Webroot, all of these different products. And we're one of the only vendors that's able to actually successfully block all of the tests. And we've been this way since for the past 3 years, every quarter. So we are keeping up on the game and ensuring that our customers have the best security available. So what does the Quarri product do? Essentially what we do is we insert a control layer between the browser and the operating system, and then which allows us to validate the control of all browser code. It also allows us to control runtime behavior of the browser, and then we can also monitor various system resources for potentially dangerous behavior, like keyloggers and malware and things like that. And at the same time, we're also able to encrypt sensitive disk resources, so that's an additional layer of security. So things like your internet cache and your cookies and your history, things like that, become invisible to hackers. We're also bidirectional, so we can control processes having access to the browser, and we can also control the browser's interaction to other processes and resources. So essentially, we can stop malware that's already on your PC from getting into a secure browser, but then we also can stop anything that you encounter out on the internet that comes into your browser from getting onto your PC. So we really, we'll stop you from getting things, but if you've already got some sort of infection, we'll stop that infection from getting into your browser, your important browser sessions and stealing data. So Quarri is one product, but we have 3 use cases, and they're really just different implementations of the same product with a slightly different set of features. But the core product itself is one product. Our primary product is Perimeter Shield, and this was our first product, and it's still our flagship product. And Perimeter Shield is used to protect users when they come into a website. Now, this is a very common occurrence. Of course, everyone's got websites. Everyone's got users that are coming to those websites, but some websites have more important data than others. The people that are looking to use Perimeter Shield are banks. They are large corporations with VPN access. They are healthcare organizations that have personal information, and organizations that have that have a lot of intellectual property, and they're making that information accessible through a web portal. And what Quarri does is we sit in front of the protected web app, and when users connect to that web app, we will actually push a secure browser to their system, which then blocks any potential malware from accessing that session while they are browsing that. So it's going to protect against it's going to protect their password, it's going to protect any information that they view or consume, and it's going to protect that session against keyloggers, malware, and what we're really looking to do is stop account theft, stop session hijack, and stop e-fraud. So Perimeter Shield is going to protect against zero-day attacks. It's going to protect against man-in-the-middle keylogger, man-in-the-browser. We block screen capture, and so it's a very effective tool to ensure that your web sessions remain secure. Just as an example, I don't know how much press it got in Europe, but we've had a number of massive data breaches in the U.S. recently. The two biggest of note have been Home Depot and Target. The Target breach specifically started out with a stolen credential from a vendor's remote access system to Target. Once those credentials were stolen, they logged in with those vendors' credentials and then worked their way in until they found the credit processing systems, put malware in place that collected credit cards and then stole that away, and off they went. Had Target had a system like Quarri in place for their remote access system, those credentials never would have been compromised, and that breach might not ever have happened. So, yeah, you really, with security these days, and I think you all know this, you have to have a layered approach, because no one layer is adequate to protect against sophisticated attacks anymore. So the next product is DataSafe. Now, DataSafe has all the same malware features, malware prevention features as Perimeter Shield, except now we add an additional level of data leakage protection. So we think about this as data leakage protection for information presented in the browser. We're not out there to compete with the with some of the big data leakage protection companies out there, the McAfee's and the Symantec's. But we have a unique product in that we can essentially protect data that is being presented through a website and ensure that it doesn't get taken or copied and reconsumed elsewhere. So as an example here, we can stop the copy, save, and print of PDFs and Word documents, or PDFs and Office documents. So users can consume those documents and they can read them, but they can't save them locally. They can't print them off. They can't copy them and take them out elsewhere. We can also stop the ability to do screen captures on the web page itself. We can stop cut and paste, all those types of things, to essentially make it so that your browser is essentially just a viewing platform and nothing else. So this is a very popular thing for companies that use outsourcers to work with their customers. So we've got a number of companies that outsource their customer service to Asia, and they want to make sure that those customer lists and those contacts are not taken and then sent to other companies or poached or whatever the case may be. So this allows them to actually have full control over any information that they present to their call center employees and ensure that is all remaining in place and they have full control over it. Now, this can be set up in two different ways. One looks exactly like Perimeter Shield, where you essentially just set up Quarri in front of the web app. But we can also manage things in the cloud. We can essentially integrate with a SAML provider or some sort of single sign-on provider, and then it allows us to secure things like Google Docs, Office 365, Salesforce, things that are hosted in the cloud that are much more difficult to secure. We can still put a security infrastructure in front of, as long as you have some sort of SAML infrastructure in place for that as well. So what we're looking to protect against here with DataSafe is malicious and/or careless authorized users, and we're looking to prevent data theft, IP loss, and regulatory non-compliance. So essentially, we allow access to documents while you're in the protected browser, but we block the ability to duplicate content and take it away with you. And we also have this product available not just for Windows, but we also work on mobile devices like iOS and Android, and we're in the process of coming out with our our OS X client. So we're really looking to ensure that all of your clients can be taken care of, no matter what type of device they're coming in on. So our final product, and this is our newest product, and so it's just getting out into the market, but it's called the Armored Browser. The Armored Browser has almost the inverse use case of Perimeter Shield. With Perimeter Shield, we are putting protection in front of a website and protecting users who are coming to that website. With Armored Browser, we are putting the Quarri infrastructure in front of a web gateway, and we are protecting users from inside the organization when they go out to the internet. So, the problem with the internet is that it's a big wild space, and there's lots of viruses lurking around out there. There's all sorts of hijacked web pages and So it's very easy to pick up an infection while you're out there. So what we can do is on your web proxy, we can essentially put a rule that says when you go out to the internet, you must have a secure browser, and that way, while you are out there browsing the internet, if something does try to infect your system, it will only get into the browser, and as soon as you close that browser session, it will go away with it. So that stops internal users from potentially getting infected while they're out browsing the net. So the idea here is we're going to protect against the things like drive-by downloads and APTs, and we're stopping those from getting back into your organization and then propagating themselves throughout your company, and then finding yourselves in a situation like Target or Home Depot, where all of a sudden you've got malware running rampant all through the organization, and you're having to do a lot of cleanup. So I think all of you know, for the most part, the big culprit in a lot of the security is Windows. They're working to improve, and we'll see what Windows 10 brings, but they just have never had strong anti-malware defenses. So it just makes it a huge. Plus, they're widely distributed, so it's a huge target. Mac OS X has had better defenses, but still has a gap, and then iOS and Android have better defenses still, but still have a gap. So the red line is kind of where you want to be for general computing, and then this green line is where you want to be if you're dealing with kind of data. And so, our Perimeter Shield product gets you to this red line. Data Safe gets you to this green line and just gives you that extra protection. So how does this actually work? So one of the benefits of using Quarri is that there's nothing that the user has to pre-install on their system. We basically deliver the secure browser on demand during their connection to your website. So there's a couple things that we do here. We use the IE rendering engine because it's available on all PCs, whether it's their primary browser or not. And we just push down a small security package that allows us to secure that version of IE and turn it into a hardened browser. So whether you're coming in from Chrome or Firefox or IE, you're going to get a version of IE, an instance of IE launched for the secure browser session. And then when you're done with your session, you can go straight back to using your standard, whatever browser you use on a day-to-day basis. So the way this works here is that you'll have a Quarri system in your infrastructure. This is just going to be sitting in your DMZ somewhere. You'll have a Quarri management server somewhere inside your corporate network as well that's used to manage the Quarri infrastructure. But we deploy on a virtual appliance, so there's no significant hardware requirements. Most organizations have a Hyper-V farm or a VMware farm, and so we just have an OVA or a Hyper-V file that you can just drop in and launch, and all of a sudden you have a Quarri server up and running and ready to configure. So once your Quarri server is in place, we're going to go ahead then and create an enforcement point. So this can be at an ADC or a WAF, or it can be at a load balancer. We integrate with F5, Barracuda, NetScaler, and we're able to integrate with virtually everything else out there as well. Most WAFs and ADCs are quite extensible, and we've yet to run into a platform that we don't integrate with. So on the load balancer in front of your web app, we're going to drop a rule. And that rule is basically going to say, if you want to come to this web application, you must have the Quarri secured browser. And also be running a specific policy that you control as owner of a website. So when a user comes into the website, they're going to come in and they're going to hit this rule, and they're not going to have what we call a secure token. A secure token is essentially a cryptographic key that we attach to the HTTP header that can be read by the enforcement point, and if that token is not present, that user is going to be redirected to go and get a secure browser. So this all happens in a matter of seconds. They're going to be redirected. They're going to be sent to the Quarri infrastructure to fetch the protected browser and the policy. If they're coming in from an Android or an iOS device, they'll be redirected to the appropriate app store where they can download the free app, and then they'll be sent back to the website. But now they'll be running from within the secure browser, and so they'll be protected from anything that's happening on their system. Now, in the protected browser, they will also now have a token. And this is going to be the cryptographic key in the HTTP header. So when they get to this load balancer, we're going to verify that that is actually a valid token. And once we've done that, we're going to allow them through to the protected web app. At the same time, we're going to be logging events that happen in that browser. So anything that tries to get into that session, any kind of malware that we block, all that information is going to be logged to the Quarri server, or it can be logged to syslog or a file resource. Whatever the case may be, we have quite a number of options for how to do the logging. And so that's going to give you not only a protected browser, but also a lot of data to really understand what kind of threats are on your user systems, and then be able to provide some feedback and even keep them safer. So with that, let's go ahead and jump into the demo. Let me move over to a VM here. We'll go ahead and log in. So what I've got here is essentially just a standard Windows desktop, and what we've put on here to really show what's happening is a product called the Leak Detector. Leak Detector is essentially a malware emulator, and let's just move this out of the way. Get you. That'll work. It's not quite gone all the way. What we have in the Leak Detector is a number of keyloggers. We have a screen monitor, which is basically going to grab a screenshot every 7 to 10 seconds. We've got a cache monitor. We monitor the clipboard. We monitor cookies. We monitor COM. You name it, we track it. And what this will allow us to do is essentially show you what is happening on your system when you're at a standard web page, and then what happens when you're running a Quarri secured site. So essentially, the leak detector is malware for the purposes of this demo, and it uses the same types of hooks and functions that malware would use to try and steal data from a website. So we're going to start out by just going to our own corporate website. This is just our plain Jane customer-facing site. There's no extra security on this whatsoever. It's just a standard site. And the first thing you're going to see is the screen capture. We'll grab a screen grab of the site, and then we'll also see, of course, all sorts of temporary internet files get created. Now let's go ahead and go to a sign-in page. Now you notice this is an HTTPS connection, so we have a valid cert. So this should be secure, right? I should be, this has been the standard of security for some time. Just make sure you have an SSL connection and everything is safe. Well, let's just see what happens when I try and log in. Now, this is not my real username and password, but I'll just type in my username and my password. So you see that the keylogger is able to grab that information without a problem. We're also grabbing screen monitors. And the problem with SSL is that SSL is a transport protocol, and it keeps things secure while it's on the wire. But as soon as it gets to its destination, which in most cases is the PC, not the browser, it is decrypted and made available to the operating system, which then makes it available to the browser. Well, the problem is that when the operating system makes it available to the browser, it also makes it available to everything else on the PC, including, in this case, the leak detector, or in other cases, any kind of malware that was on the machine looking to find that type of information. So if this was a Zeus Trojan, if this was Dire, those tools would now have your username and password for this website, and they'd be able to go back through the rest of their information and link up this information to this website, and then go in, log in as you, and steal data and perpetrate their fraud. So how do we fix this? Well, you need to have something like Quarri to block this hole in your environment. So what are the problems do we have here? Well, we've got the screen monitor, right? So if we take a look at the history here, we can just go right through this, and we can see everything that's happened since I started here, so again, that gives a hacker a trail of exactly what's going on and where information belongs. We've got all sorts of information showing up in COM that can also be pulled. And if I take a look at our temporary internet files, let's find a nice HTM. There we go. We'll see that we have fully rendered pages just sitting around in our internet cache, waiting to be hijacked or mined for information. Now, this is just a public website, but this could just as easily have been personally identifiable information. It could have been banking data. It could have been intellectual property. All that information sits around in your temporary internet files for days, for weeks, for months. It really, just depends on what your settings are. So it's a huge potential cache of information for a hacker that just goes unsecured. So how do we fix this? Well, we fix this by using Quarri. So let's go ahead and clear this data out. And now we're going to go and then we're going to launch a secure site. So the first thing that we're going to see happen is we're going to see a couple of, this is the ActiveX control launching. And then we're going to launch the secure browser using the ActiveX control. Now, if I wasn't coming in from IE, then I'd be launching via Java, and that would keep me there. And so the first thing we see is our leak detector get blocked, and we'll go ahead and let that log in. And then we'll move this over. Now you see we still have a little bit of information down here in the comm monitor, but this is actually information from the launch page, not from our secure page. So let's go ahead and just clear this one more time. Now that we're running the secure page. And basically what we'll see now is a big blank space where the secure browser is, and if I move that browser, you'll see that blank space will move with it. And now if I go and browse around to different sites on here, you'll still see temporary internet files being created, but we'll take a look at those here in a second. But you see there's nothing created anymore in COM, so that channel has been blocked. If I try and do an alt print screen, that's blocked. If I try and do a copy and paste, that's also blocked. If I want to open up a document, we can control specific types of documents in here, and we'll get to that in just a second. But let's go ahead and try and type some information in here. Now, it's not a login dialog, but keyloggers really don't care whether it's a login screen or a search screen. So let me try and type in some information here. So let's do the same thing now. We'll do my username and my password. So you'll see now that the keylogger is no longer able to capture this information, right? So that has now been blocked, along with the screen capture. And if we take a look at our temporary internet files, let's go and find a nice juicy HTM. It looks very different, right? So we're now encrypting all these temporary internet files, and the only process that has access to the encryption key is the secure browser itself. So, temporary internet files are just a part of web browsing. It's a necessary part, and so they have to be created. But we don't necessarily need to let everyone access them in clear text. So what we can do is we can encrypt them and ensure that if anything outside of the secure browser tries to access them, all they see is gibberish. So that's what we see here. And then once we actually stop our secure browser or end our secure browser session, anything that we create will actually be deleted. So we will clean up after ourselves. So next up is getting into some of the more kind of data controls. So here we've got two sections. We've got public files and we've got sensitive documents. So in public files, we can have files that are available for everybody. We can go ahead and we can open those up. And we'll open this up, and you see that we still have a secure browser border. And actually, let me step back for a second. I forgot to talk a little bit about this. When we launch the secure browser, we will launch and provide a secure border, and we'll also provide a customizable launch screen. So let's jump all the way back here. This launch screen is fully customizable for graphics, for colors, and for text in this right-hand pane. And you can even go further than that. This is kind of our basic customization, but you can actually, use a pretty. You can get pretty fancy with this to make it look really, really custom for a specific organization. But just at the basic level, you can change graphics, you can change colors, you can change this text. Once you launch into the secure browser, what you're going to see then is a web browser with a border around it and a toolbar. These can also be customized. You can change the colors, you can change the text and the graphics, or if you just want this to look like a standard website, you can get rid of them completely. So you don't have to show the border and you don't have to show the toolbar. But we find that most of our customers actually want to let their users know that they're in a secure browser and that this is a safer place than the standard web browser. So back into our Acrobat, you see that we also have the secure browser around Acrobat, and this would also be the same for Office files. So in this particular document, this is from our public files, so if I wanted to go and save this, I can save it. I've already saved it before, so let's go and save it somewhere else. Put it on the desktop, save that. No worries there. If I wanted to print this, I can print it, get the print dialog, and let's go ahead and print that. All good. So, and that's just going to print a file, so we'll just let that go. So we have the ability to view it, we have the ability to print it, we have the ability to save it. We can do all sorts of things there. Not a problem. But if I go down into our sensitive documents section, we're going to see a very different behavior. Now, the first step is going to be normal. Oops, let's get rid of you. And this is going to be opening the document, and we'll be able to read it just as we normally would. But now, if I try and copy information, that's blocked. If I try to save this, that's blocked. If I try and print it, again blocked. So all I can do in this section where we've got these sensitive files and we've put a tighter data safe policy on it is view the document and then close it. I can't take it with me. I can't copy it. I can't save it. I can't print it. It's literally locked down in the browser, and it can't be taken out of the browser. So it gives you a lot of power over the information that you're displaying. So SharePoint is a great use case for this, but any portal that you're going to be displaying information in or providing documents that you don't want to go all over cyberspace would be a use case for this product. Now we can also go further than this, and we can get into controlling where users can go while they're in a secure session. Let's say you are a bank and you are providing this service to your customers. You don't necessarily want them to just go anywhere they want. You want them to kind of stay on task, get their banking done, and then close out of the secure browser and go out wherever else they need to go. So you can control where they go. You can specify that they can only be on banking sites. So in this example, we've blocked them from going to Bing. So getting the Bing there, so that's blocked. But if we wanted to let them go to Google because we're friendly with Google, we'll let them go there, and that's not going to be a problem. So we give you a lot of ability to control user behavior there. Now we also have the ability to prevent against DNS attacks or DNS poisonings and things like that. So we give you some controls within the browser to bypass host file lookups. So if something malicious tries to drop a host file lookup and redirect a user, we can disable that lookup. We can put in specific IP to host name mappings so that if you've got specific servers you want to always be in there and not worry that they're going to do DNS lookup, you can specify that. We can disable DNS lookup for the protected session, and then we can also control or specify a set of clean DNS servers for the secure browser session. So let's say they're the DNS server that your customers are using has been poisoned in some way, or they're just pointing to a poisoned DNS server, we can actually override those settings and send them to clean servers that haven't been compromised. So we give you a lot of control over the user behavior and ensuring that the users are going to be protected while they're using the secure browser. And then once, like I said, once we're done, we're gonna close out, and we'll see them here still because we never the leak detector grabbed them, but we do clear those out of the internet cache, and that will make sure that those aren't left behind for anyone to snoop. And even if they did try and snoop or they did get left behind, they're encrypted, and so none of that information will ever transfer to any place else. So that's my demo. What kind of questions can I answer for the crew out there, or Christian Bahast? I don't know what the setup is for questions.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Trevor. So there's actually, there are two questions actually. Let me just try and see. So the first one is if it's possible to try out Quarri like as a trial.
Yeah, absolutely. So we do trials on a regular basis. We have a couple of different ways that they can be done. We have a cloud instance that we can set up for you, and then kind of walk you through how that works, and walk you through creating policies, and then this lets you test out against the cloud instance. Or we can provide you with the software to install it, in-house and test it out, on site. So we're absolutely open to that. So you can get in touch with us through Drawware, and we'll be happy to help you out with that.
Great. I hope that answered the question. So the next one is how much does it? Let me just translate. How much does it actually affect the speed of browsing whenever you use Quarri? Yeah, sorry, I think you got it.
Yeah, no, it's really almost non-existent, right? So let's just reopen this guy here, and I'll just show you. Now this is a specific policy for SharePoint, so it might not let me go everywhere I might want to go, but let's just go to Google, and we'll just do a search, and so so that comes up pretty quick. If I want to browse around in here, let's go to public files. It really is not. You're not going to notice anything. And let's just go to Google. That's always a good one. Let pop up, and let's do a search for. Let's just search for Malware. And now it should block me from going here because we haven't allowed that, so that's fine. But it's almost imperceptible, honestly. I've been working with this product for quite some time, and we've demoed this at a lot of places, because all of our processing is being done on the client side. We're a pretty small footprint. I think we take about 12 megs of RAM for our processes, and compared to what Chrome and IE use, that's tiny. And we're not doing a lot of intercepting. We once we set up our session and we sandbox the browser, we don't have to do a lot of traffic control. We just block everything unless you've allowed it, and so that's kind of our claim to fame. And that also allows for us to be very streamlined and very tuned. And so the browsing process should be almost identical to what you would see without it.